Oh, Kate, I got a little trivia for you to kick off today's episode.
Hit me.
Did you know that March 15th is the date that Julius Caesar was murdered by all his besties?
Yeah, the Ides of March.
And they did it so that nobody would know who did the death blow.
Right.
You with me so far?
Yeah.
Okay, March 15th is also the last time we ever saw Murph Dog. It was 255 days ago.
I'll be.
Is that a coincidence? Did the cast of Dateline murder Murph Dog? Nobody knows. We haven't gotten word yet, Kate. What do you think?
I'm getting worried.
Much like, I've been inspired to open up a tip line.
You may be able to help solve a mystery.
So if you've got any info on Murph Dog and his whereabouts, hit me up on my personal cell, 323-420.
You're putting your personal details out there in the world.
Well, maybe I bleep one, maybe I bleep them all. We'll see, Kate. But that's how freaking serious I am. I want to know what Murph Dog's up to.
E2 J-Mang.
I'm Lester Holt.
Howdy, Holeheads. Kurt Money here, alongside my co-host,
Caitlin.
and we are here to discuss the newest episode of Dateline.
Here's Andrea Canning with The Killer Among Them.
We got another AC joint. Guess who's not complaining?
Kurt Money.
This guy.
Good, honey.
Let me read the IMDb, and then we'll hop on in there. Millionaire entrepreneur Lance Herndon. Lance?
Off to a great start.
I was worried about his last name. I thought I'd crushed the first name. Okay. Millionaire entrepreneur Lance Herndon is found bludgeoned to death in his Atlanta home. The search for his killer reveals no shortage of suspects or secrets. Caitlin, what'd you think of this episode?
Well, you know it's Atlanta, so
You're already in.
I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Specifically, Roswell, Georgia.
You know it.
Well, you should know it too. One of your former roommates is from there.
Diljo?
Uh-huh.
Really?
Uh-huh.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's pretty cool. I thought you were going to say the aliens, and I was like, Caitlin, that's in another state, bro.
Do you think I'm dumb?
I didn't until you said that, and then I was worried, but I'm glad that we cleared it up. You ain't dumb. You're super smart. But anyway, shout out to Dylan. What up? Okay, our story begins in 1996. I love the way that AC opens this up, okay? Because the murder scene is a few months down the road at the dude's house. But she plants this seed. We open up Atlanta nightlife. We've got like a rooftop party going on. It's got to be somebody's big birthday party, right? Probably for like a milestone year, like a 40 or a 50 or something. Nope. 41st birthday celebration for entrepreneur Lance Herndon. Tell us about this party, Caitlin.
It was popping off in a bar/club on top of the Hilton.
Yeah.
I have been to a few rooftop places in Atlanta, but not this one. I thought, why not go to the rotating restaurant? That'd be way more fun. But I guess, I don't know. Maybe they got a good deal at the Hilton.
Do you know so? Now, I know tiptoe around facts, okay? Because of somewhere you spent your life for 4 years, assuming, is that why you're familiar with Atlanta a little bit? Was that your experience with it?
No.
Or can I not?
No.
So when were you in Atlanta?
I'm in Atlanta all the time.
Okay. All right. I tried, Holdheads. I tried. Okay, so this guy, Lance, is like crazy successful. He owns like an IT consulting company, but this guy's big time. We'll talk about his clients and stuff later, but like 2 presidents have recognized this guy
Yeah.
for being like a black entrepreneur.
A Republican and a Democrat.
Oh, good call.
Crossing party lines.
He was appointed by President Clinton. He was given a National Service Award by President George H.W. Bush. Your dad was a trailblazer.
So this party is huge, and it was like the ticket in town. And now, I didn't catch this until many watches later, but did you hear AC drop a little hint in the beginning for us?
A hint about what?
Who the killer was. She said,
So chilling when you think that Lance was face to face with his killer at that birthday party.
Well, the title is The Killer Among Them.
yeah. Okay. But later, when we discuss this party, you know what, Kate? You know what I'm saying. It's a good plant by AC.
Sure.
About a 9 on the tension scale, Rube.
So the party goes off without a hitch. Huge hit. 4 months later, Holly Stuber, an employee of Lance's, shows up to his house in a Toney neighborhood. as AC called it.
In the Toney, Atlanta suburb of Roswell.
So Toney means like fuddy or like rich or something? Mm-hmm. Cool. I loved it. In a Toney, Atlanta suburb, she shows up. The office is like in the basement. And usually when she rolls in, her boss, Lance, has like a little micro cassette tape with instructions on it.
Yeah, this was interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen this before, but the employees would come in every morning and have this little tape of instructions sitting on their desk. I guess he did better recording his thoughts rather than sending an email or making a list or something.
Yeah, and I was thinking that means every desk had to have a micro cassette player. Because it wasn't, is that what it was called, a micro cassette? We're not talking like cassettes you put in a boombox and rock out to. It was the little guys.
It was a little tiny one.
So they all got players for them. Yeah, I thought it was kind of cool and weird.
It was weird. Yeah, I liked, it sounded like this guy was really quirky because she told us more about what it was like working there and how he was very particular about certain things. And this might have just been one of those things.
Yeah. And so clearly he's reusing those tapes, but he's got to have a storage closet full of those blank tapes, those little ones. Mm-hmm. Cool. If 96, I'm 12. If I'm in an office and I spy the supplies closet, my eyes light up. Did you love a supply closet when you were a kid, Kate?
Because of the colored highlighters and the whiteout?
Anything. It was like a free back-to-school special of all the shit you need to be a great student.
Something that I still do
What's that?
whenever I see supplies.
Yeah.
I have to link all of the paper clips together. I'm that dickhead that does that.
You take them out and... Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah. And then put them back in, and then when someone goes to grab it...
The whole thing.
Chaos.
And there's Kate lying in the background just going...
Oh, I'm gone.
You're in the wind.
They don't even know who did it.
That's pretty sweet. I love a free pen, and I've got a lot of opinions on pens as a left-handed writer, but I'll save that for our left-handed writing podcast kicking off next year.
I didn't know you were a lefty.
What? Yeah! I'm a proud southpaw. What do you think about that?
I feel sorry for you.
Why? Because of, like, instruments? 'Cause I gotta have guitars made for me, Kate. It was a bummer back in the day.
Well,
Yeah?
more so because you always had pencil all over your hand.
Yeah, that's true. That part did suck. What also sucks, Lance is nowhere in sight. So Holly's getting worried. Now, a few hours later, around 10 a.m., Lance's mom shows up. And Holly says, hey, I don't know what's up with Lance. I can't find him. Boom, like a beeline, Lance's mom shoots up the stairs to look for her son, right? Like she was instantly worried and on it. And with good reason. Because what did she find when she went into the bedroom of her son?
She found him dead in his bed, laying on his back with his hands kind of resting, crossed in front of him and resting like a vampire.
Yeah.
And clearly he had been beaten to death, and there was blood everywhere.
Yeah, and we hear the 911 call, and it's brutal. We hear Lance's mom on the phone saying, like, somebody killed my baby.
Mm-hmm.
I came in the house, he's 40 years old, I found him in the bed. Somebody done killed my baby.
And immediately, I'm thinking, jealous girl.
Yeah, because I mean, that's not a bad theory, because as is made clear to us from minute one of this episode, Lance was a big hit with the ladies.
Yes.
Right?
He juggled a few.
They love talking about that. I feel like the way that Dateline says that is they have someone say, like in this one, Lance loved the ladies.
Lance loved women. And women liked Lance too.
I feel like anytime he's a player or something, that's what they say about him.
Yes.
Right.
But notice how different it is when they talk about women who love men.
You mean like because they're like floozies and stuff?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a great point.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to say it right here.
Do it.
Lance was a floozy.
So many lies, so many lovers.
So we hear the 911 call, and the cops come. We got ourselves a crime scene here. Did we talk to the detectives that were on the case? We did, didn't we?
Yeah.
Oh, so the crime scene, like, they can't find a murder weapon. They don't find any blood. They see that the shower is wet. So clearly the killer felt comfortable enough to shower up and clean and not have any, like, fingerprints anywhere. And then when they do, like, a sweep of the house, they notice outside there are, like, crumples of gum wrappers, like the little tin foil for, like, double mint Wrigley gum or something, right? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of weird.
They found gum wrappers outside the house.
Yes, they found gum wrappers, a lot of silver foil, like rolled up, and some were just crumpled up all around the driveway.
Because usually those cigarette butts, I love that it's gum for once. This was kind of like one of my favorite parts of this episode. This whole gum thing.
I like this.
So the cops start to look into Lance's life, and as we've said, there's a lot of ladies to talk about, so there could be a lot of suspects. And we are presented with 4 main ones right off the bat that are our main suspects if it was a lady.
And who knows how many others. These are just the best suspects they had.
Yeah, because also there was some teacher that he had.
Who was the teacher?
Who was the teacher? It's a good cue. That was lady number 5. Obviously, the first suspect is going to be the wife, and his ex-wife now. They had just divorced a few months earlier, and of course there was an insurance payout coming, total of $700,000. So Janine is looking good as suspect number 1.
Yep. I liked Janine. I felt like she...
Were you suspicious up top?
No, I was not suspicious of her. She felt like a good ex-wife for him to have because she didn't seem jealous or upset by his wandering eye. I mean, she talked about the wandering eye. It's what broke them up.
Yeah.
But she was over it, and, you know, they had a son, and that was what she focused on, and she had her own life.
Yeah. So this is suspect number 1. I'll tell you this. I thought Janine was a smoke show. I thought she was super hot. Didn't you?
I mean, I thought almost all the women in this were pretty hot.
Yeah, that's true. I got to give tops to Janine, though.
I mean, Lance was good looking.
Yeah, he was a good-looking guy. He had a great stash. Let's talk about that. This is 96, okay? We're seeing pics of him. What's his style all about? He's looking good.
He's looking kind of like a preppy Brooks Brothers type dude. And then his son actually was wearing a Brooks Brothers shirt in one of the interviews.
Good eye.
He did have great facial hair. He had that kind of facial hair where he's clean shaven, but like 3 hours later, you see the shadow coming in, but it looks good. It looks wealthy.
Okay.
He looked wealthy.
Yeah. Even his stash. I thought his stash was pretty sharp, too. It's nice and round and thick and stuff. I was like, nice stash, dude. So Janine is the first suspect, but they talked to her. She had an alibi. They frame it like she was an oceans away, but she was 20 minutes away. That's not that far, right?
That was funny. She was like, it couldn't have been me. I was 20 minutes away.
She said she was nowhere near his place. She was at her home, a 20-minute drive away.
That's pretty close.
Yeah. Yeah. And what were you doing? Oh, I was with my current boyfriend. Also, does not make it a perfect alibi, in my opinion.
No, because they could have murdered him together.
Exactly. Next up, we've got Talana. Now, Talana works for Lance, but they have a history too. They're friends. And tell us about their meet cute. How did their friendship start?
So she worked as a bank teller.
Yep.
And he came into the bank to make a deposit and said, "You're really pretty." And she was smitten because no one had ever really said that to her before. And AC was like, "Aw."
He goes, "You're really pretty." I was like, "Ooh, thank you." And I just, because no one has ever really said that.
AC loved it.
She loved it.
I'll tell you this. AC was loving Talana, and so was I. And there's a few moments where I was just like, okay, anyway.
So they meet at the bank.
Yeah.
And he asks her out. He gets her number. He asks her out.
He sends her flowers.
They are kind of an item, but they slowly begin to turn more into friends. And then years later, she needed some money, and he hired her to work for him. And they're just good friends. They're not friends with benefits anymore. They're just...
Well, but they used to be, didn't they? And that
They
was
used to
AC
be.
set her up. Remember what AC said? Because she said, well, we were friends with benefits for a minute.
A hot minute.
We were friends with benefits for a minute.
So things turned romantic for a hot minute?
A hot minute.
That was good stuff.
Yeah.
That was good stuff.
But I loved this woman.
Me too.
And she knew that she was probably going to be looked at as a suspect just because of their history and her proximity to him and that she worked there.
Yeah, she's the last one, other than whoever the killer is, the last known person to have contact with Lance is Talana, because she left his house at 10:30 p.m. the night of the murder.
She was working late, and she said that he asked her to call him when she got home just to make sure she got there safely, and she didn't. He called her, and she missed the call because she was in the shower, and she called him back, and he didn't answer, and we know why.
So they don't talk when she gets home?
No.
I think I called him back and let him know I got the message and I was home. And we talked briefly.
Now Talana's kind of looking good to the cops because, in their eyes, last one to talk to him, they used to bone, now they don't. And also, Talana's boyfriend had borrowed money from Lance that he had not paid back. So the cops hear that and they're like, what's going on here? And it's through Talana that we meet the third suspect of our potentials here. And that's when the same woman calls in 3 different times to talk to Lance. And now this is where Talana said, guess what? All-star for me today. Hands down. Tell us about this exchange, Caitlin.
So Talana's answering the phones at Lance's company, not his house, his business in the basement of his house.
Yeah.
A woman calls and asks for Lance, and she says, I'm sorry, he's busy right now. May I take a message? And this woman says, can you tell him I called? And she's like, well, I'd love to if you'd tell me what your name is.
Yeah. And you are?
And she says her name, and she's like, okay, I'll let him know.
She said, tell him I called. I said, and your name is? And she said, Dion.
This woman calls back again.
Uh-huh.
Same thing. And she's like, may I ask who's calling? She just refused. She refused to let this woman occupy any kind of space. It was like, yeah, I'll take the message. He's busy.
Yeah.
And I don't know who you are.
Which is hysterical. And that's what AC goes, oh, you like to stir the pot, right? And Talana says, she was bugging me.
And she said, this is his girlfriend. I said, in your name?
Wait, again?
Yes.
The second time?
Yes.
How did she take that?
She wasn't very happy, but she still gave me her name. So I said, I'll let him know you called. That was it.
You like to stir the pot a little bit, huh?
No, she was just annoying.
Yeah, but it's,
That's why I love her, because she's cool as ice, right? But she's asking on purpose for that name again, because she knows whoever's on the other line is hating it.
Why don't you know who I am? I'm a big deal in his life.
Yeah.
That's what she's thinking. And Talana knows that that's what she's thinking and is like, I'm sorry, what was that again?
Yeah. Sorry, one more time. D. So this lady's name is Dion Bao. And does she come over before Talana leaves? She does.
No.
Because she was on her way over, it sounded like. Is that when they met for the first time?
No.
Talana sniffed her out and was like, she's trouble.
Right. And she said, she literally told Lance, I don't like her.
Yeah.
She's not the one,
Yeah.
is what she said.
I told him that day, I was like, she is not the one. I said, she is a jealous woman.
Wait, that's a perfect spot I'm going to put in the, and when you see her coming, she's always trouble. Remember
Kurt. Oh, I love that clip.
When you see her coming, she's always trouble.
Oh, it's so good. Nobody owns us.
Nobody runs us.
Talana also said that Lance told her the reason why he liked Dion was because she let him do whatever he wanted in bed. And I guess
Yes.
the other women didn't.
So, we're talking butt stuff, huh? We talking butt stuff?
It's gotta be butt stuff. What else would it be? I mean, unless it's like a little bit of choking or something.
So, that was her pass in,
Oh, men. Men are so weak.
right? That's all it took.
I said, she is a jealous woman. And he said, yeah, but she lets me do anything I want to in bed.
So now that's Dion. We've met Dion. We don't know what her story is, but we know that we don't like her because Talana's given us the scoop.
But it's pronounced
the
Dion,
cops-
right?
What am I saying?
Dion. You're saying what it should be, but she's saying it's Dion.
Dion. Okay. Dionne. Dion.
Yeah, that's Dion, not Dion. Like Dionne Warwick.
Great point. Spelled the same, too, I believe.
Spelled the same.
Yeah,
Is it?
I think. Wait, maybe it's just... I don't know. Is Kate off to the goog?
To the goog.
There she goes.
Yep. Spelled the same.
Sweet. All right, we were right. One thing we got to mention is that when the cops are at the crime scene and Lance is in the bed, the alarm clocks had frozen at 4:10 a.m. because this fool was waking up at 4 a.m. every day. He follows rock hours. This is crazy, right?
It is.
What do you think of people who wake up at 4 a.m.? That's yesterday. That's late night yesterday to me. What do you think?
They say that early risers, rise and grind, get that paper.
Okay. Well,
That a lot of CEOs get up early, and he may be following the CEO playbook.
yeah, and when Talana tells us that he would say, when I wake up, the other side of the world their business day is already started.
Right.
Okay. All right. He would set 3 alarm clocks, and one of them was like an old-timey, the letters would flip over. Mm-hmm. That's how they knew what time it was, because they think that somebody pulled it out or something.
Yeah, it would have had to been unplugged at that time.
Yeah, for it to freeze. Mm-hmm. Oh, another thing they notice in that crime scene, there is a framed picture on the bedside, and this framed picture is of a woman, and now this is our 4th and final suspect. Kathy. Now, Kathy is his current girlfriend, supposedly. Like, even in the show, they're like, she's as close as we could call to his girlfriend.
She's
right?
the woman that he would bring to public events. Yeah. She's the woman who other people in his professional life knew as his girlfriend.
Yep.
I think it was more of, this is a person that looks good on my arm, and we travel together, we attend parties together, and we look good together.
And so that's the one in the picture with it face down. So between the brutality of the murder, the fact that this lady's picture is down, the cops are going, well, it's probably not her, but it's most likely a lady that is mad to see that face in that frame, and they put it down. Mm-hmm. That's what they're thinking.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but then when they talk to Kathy, Kathy's not in this episode. Well, actually, Talana is the only one we talk to. She's the main talking head, and she rules. She's stirring that pot up with AC.
She's just annoying.
But we don't talk to Kathy or Janine or Dion. And what are Kathy's demands when someone calls and says, hey, your boyfriend for parties has died? She is unaffected. But she's got a lot of requests, Kate.
She, I believe, showed up to the house, too, and they turned her away. But she wanted to get into that crime scene to get her stuff. I guess she had a lot of clothes and personal items, and she did not care one bit that he was dead. She just wanted her stuff.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that tells us a lot about how flippant Lance was with his women. Of course, all she wanted was her stuff back. She knew that he was sleeping with other people. She was probably pissed.
Yeah, I agree with you. And look, if I was in your situation, I'd also be thinking, hey, what about that dress that's at that crime scene? Do I not get it back now because it was part of a crime scene? I'm not involved. Let's have it. But she's not done with these cops because she leaves the scene and types up a letter. And she lists out all this stuff she wants. And they show us some hits.
Line by line.
They show us some hits, and it's stuff like all the photos and negatives of me and my friend. Friend being Lance. It's just the weirdest phrasing. And like this purple dress, I need this back. It was pretty wild. But the cops are like, oh, this is funny.
She asked for dozens of items, including clothing, sunglasses, photos, and bottles of expensive Merlot.
But nothing came of that. My question to you, though, did they get that stuff to her? Do you think she ever got it back?
Maybe eventually. Maybe a couple months later.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess it's good that none of these ladies were like living in, because they could have been in there next day throwing out, painting walls or whatever.
Yeah, he wouldn't have had them living in. No way.
No, not Lance. No, because he is when Dion is on her way over.
He's tidying up and getting rid of all of the girlfriend's stuff. I mean, I think he forgot the photo next to the bed.
Yeah, well, he was moving it from the bedroom closet to the hallway closet because he didn't want tonight's piece to see this other, right?
That's...
And what's Talana doing? Looking at him and shaking her head.
Yep,
right?
She's doing what I'm doing right now. Shaking her head. You dog.
Yeah. Okay, so now do we talk about... Oh. Okay, so here the cops are. They're looking at their suspects. Kathy, Janine, Talana, Dion. Dion's looking the most suspicious. They bring her down for a convo, and this interrogation made me sick. It annoyed the hell out of me. Caitlin, tell us about how her interrogation goes.
Well, she was being kind of flirty and giggly.
Yeah, and yes.
She was talking about how Lance would sometimes give her money, and they're asking her how much, like $50, and she's like laughing. $50? What's that gonna pay for?
I mean, like, was it 50, 100?
No. What can $50 do? That's lunch money.
In 96, $50 in 96? That's like lunch for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Or as the cops point out, that's our grocery money for the week.
Right.
Because she's sitting here just being so like, oh, please, $50, $100, no thank you.
Try $700, $800. It was no thing.
And she goes, oh, you guys are making me feel embarrassed. Good. Because it's not just a little money, and it is every single week. She's going to him and getting $400, $700. And meanwhile, he also just leased a Mercedes in her name.
For her.
So like she's getting a lot out of Lance.
Yes.
And she paints a picture that they are madly in love and they're going to spend together forever. And the cops are not buying this for a second because they've talked to all the other ladies in his life who know about her, and it's like, bad news. And they look in that Mercedes, and in there is a document that isn't signed, but it says that if something should happen to Lance, the lease for the Mercedes shall go to Dion Bao. right?
Which was weird because if it's leased in her name, it would go to her.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he leased it and she was on there as like an additional driver or something, right? Like, I don't...
You don't really need the piece of paper to do that. I mean, it's like, if your name's on the lease, you just change the billing information and now you're paying for it.
Right. Well, maybe she didn't know that because she literally, like, we don't know what her plans were for this document, but it was to revise his will.
Yeah, she wanted that car.
This is looking pretty suspicious, huh?
Now, granted, it was a nice car.
Do we see it?
AC said what it was. It was a Mercedes. I don't remember the model. Car Kate, that's not great. You should have remembered that.
He even leased a new silver Mercedes for Dion to drive. Talana says she picked it up.
But Car Kate was loving it.
Yeah.
And I would take that Mercedes in a heartbeat.
Wait, speaking of cars, Harrison, Lance's son, who's now 33, we talked to him, AC talks to him. When he talks about growing up with his dad of what he remembers, it was list items left and right. Now, the car was a Lotus Esprit, but looks like a Spirit. How do you say this? Help me out.
It's a Spree.
Esprit, but it's spelled E-Spirit, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what was this a dope Lotus? Because according to Harrison, it was the dopest.
Listen.
Yeah.
Car Kate, not a fan of the Lotus.
Okay.
I don't like them.
He had a new Lotus Esprit at the time, which was supposed to be like one of the most like fantastic Lotuses you could own.
And yeah, that's probably the top of the line. That's like the Esprit was the Lotus to have, but I don't...
You're not into it?
I think they're ugly.
I don't know what they look like. When I think of Lotus, I think about the Roger Moore era of Bond only. That's the only thing I know about a Lotus.
I also, when Tesla started, pre-Elon Musk, the only car they made was they took the body of a Lotus and put the Tesla battery in it.
I'm going to Goog that later. I'm not going to go off to the Goog right now, but that's interesting. All right, so there's that suspicion about this letter. It's not signed by Lance, but it says like it's ready to be signed by Lance because the letter is like it's from Lance's perspective. Correct?
Right.
So that's got us wondering. So at this point, the cops are like, okay, Deanna's looking good for it. But what about his business contacts? Because as we hear, like, he's a mover and a shaker. He's got a lot of people in his life that might be mad at him over deals that didn't go through and whatnot. So they're thinking maybe it was this. And because this is what's wild, okay, is yet again, we're talking about the hip hop scene in Atlanta, right?
Yep.
Because he wanted to get in on it and he started up a club with somebody else that kind of didn't go so hot.
It didn't. It was not the club where the murders happened that we featured a few weeks ago.
Possibly some other cases that seemingly would have been related to this, but probably were not.
Wait, really? Caitlin, I can't believe you don't think that DJ Awesome killed Nando.
But murders did happen at this club.
And it was a DJ that died. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, right?
But that would have been like 15 years earlier.
Yeah.
And the other thing, Josh, do you know that the very day he was murdered, that the news spread, he asked for DJ Nando's time slot on Friday nights, the very day that he was murdered.
Wow. Okay. Well, he didn't waste any time.
But it was called the Vixen Club. And yeah, the DJ was murdered. He was bludgeoned to death also, according to Dateline, in the VIP room. That's like on the property and stuff. I kind of want to know more about that. Also, still unsolved, they said. Huh?
She learned that several months after it opened, a DJ was bludgeoned to death in the VIP room. The murder went unsolved.
Oh, this is also when AC is trying to plant a seed of like, this whole premonition thing, I was not taking the bait. When AC's talking about how...
I remember this.
Oh, maybe he knew this was coming because he was acting weird. Tell us about this.
Yeah, this was a bit of a stretch, I thought,
Yeah.
where he was saying, I want to make sure that you take care of yourself. One of his employees, he told her, it was the conversation that people have a lot of times when they're dying of cancer, or they know they're terminal. It's like, I want to make sure that you're taken care of. I want you to be looked after. So she thought, oh God, he's dying. He's got cancer or something like that. And then AC was like, oh, it's like he knew what was coming. But no, he really just wanted his coworkers to be taken care of. He just liked helping people.
Yeah, and the reason why he was acting weird is not because he knew he was going to die, is that he suspected he had a stalker.
Almost like he had some type of premonition about what was going to happen to him.
That's what it felt like.
I mean, I guess this is what happens in Toney, Atlanta neighborhoods. But he called up the cops and said, I need you to do a sweep of my grounds once a night.
And they did. Can you imagine? We were saying in that clip of she was trouble. We don't work for you.
Nobody runs us.
These
Yeah.
The Roswell police, worked for Lance.
Officer Tommy Williams responded to the call on one of his regular drive-bys that night.
Yeah.
They would do a sweep every night of his house. That's crazy.
It is.
Just hire private security.
Great point. Great point. And
he didn't have any.
Or get some security cameras. We forgot to mention that about that interrogation. He didn't have any, and the cops used the classic American detective interrogation trick. Lie their ass off.
Are you aware that he has video surveillance cameras?
No.
That was kind of cool. I was okay with them lying to her. Right?
Yeah, they were like, your timeline doesn't match up. We have you on camera leaving his house and arriving at a certain time. And she's like, no.
Yeah,
nope.
And they can speak comfortably about that because they've already talked to Talana. They know that he was at his house until midnight at least.
Yes.
So
in that interrogation, we learned that he, according to Dion, he went to her house and gave her a laptop without the case, which would explain why they found the case at the crime scene but no laptop. And Talana was very quick to say, no, he would never ever loan someone a laptop without a case. He wouldn't even let the laptop sit around without being in the case.
Oh, he was specific about how stamps need to be even on both sides in the corner of the envelope.
Mm-hmm.
And you could not take that laptop without the case. This is what we heard from multiple people.
But Dion was like, oh, he lent that to me all the time. I never had a case.
Yeah, okay. And again, the cops are going, we don't know about this. And
also, what did he lend it to you for? Were you playing Minesweeper?
Yeah.
What are people doing on a laptop in 96 if you don't work for him?
Good cue. And she, at this point, Dion is just, she's a student nearby.
Yeah, she's in college.
The laptop thing is weird. And so this stalker situation. One time, Lance is sure somebody's out there, so he calls the cops. And we hear the 911, don't we? And they're like, do you think it's a man or woman? He's like, I don't know. Just come out here.
No. So everybody just need to go away.
Okay. Do you know if it's a male or female?
I don't know.
Okay.
So the cop comes over, does a sweep of the house, and there is a mysterious car in the driveway. And he goes and he looks in it and he sees a shoulder move or something, doesn't he? He sees a little movement from underneath the car. And so he draws his gun and is like, get out of here. Who is this? Who is this? And who was hiding underneath the car, Kate? Who was it?
That would be Dion.
It was Dion.
This right here. I'm watching this episode. Well, we know who did it, right? There's no bouncing back from this.
No.
She was literally stalking his place.
Mm-hmm.
And then the cherry on top is he searches her. So he looks in her purse. And what's her purse stuffed with but friggin' gum wrappers?
Full of gum wrappers.
This is a close-up showing a large amount of gum wrappers contained in her purse.
Oh, wow. And so, that's obviously what we found at the crime scene. What a thing to get caught on.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. She loved gum.
Flavor this big shouldn't be left behind. So wherever you go, carry a pack of Wrigley's Spearmint Gum.
So now the cops are thinking that they want to make an arrest, but they don't have a murder weapon. They don't have any fingerprints. So they're thinking we don't have enough for a case. And so it goes cold for a little bit. It goes cold for, it almost goes cold because it's a year and a half until the detective gets a call from Sean Nelson, a name they did not say in the Dateline, but I did some extra digging because I'm about to hit you up with something, Kate.
Rucker learned she was set to testify in an Atlanta divorce court. So he went to the trial to be a fly on the wall and heard this curveball.
Because Dion this whole time is married and has a kid, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And she's in the interrogation going, you know when somebody puts you up on a pedestal and then you find out it's not true? It made me disgusted. It's what the hell do you think you're doing?
I know.
Right?
You have no right to be jealous.
Yeah.
You are cheating on your husband.
Exactly.
How does that make you feel?
Now, disgusted.
Probably mad.
Not mad, just disgusted.
So Sean Nelson calls the detective and it's like, hey, so I'm splitting up with Dion, and I just want you to know that one time when we were in a fight, she said that she's going to kill me like she did Lance. And the cops are like, interesting. And so the cop is like, I decided to go watch one of their court hearings. I mean, I'm glad that he did, because what does he hear when he goes to this divorce court?
During her testimony under oath, she maintained to the judge, after vigorous questioning, that her relationship with Lance Herndon was merely platonic.
Her statement, her legal statement for what she was doing on the night of the murder, she was at Lance's house. Now, that's a direct contradiction to what she said went down in the interrogation.
Right, because that was her alibi for something with her husband, not realizing that is now evidence against her in Lance's murder.
By saying that, she then put herself at the crime scene.
Did she not know that, like, those courts were connected?
No.
Like, they're all under the same umbrella.
She had no idea.
So the cop is in the crowd going like, yes, yes. And also, this is what I know. This is what my question was, is Talana describes Dion's husband.
Oh, yes.
And Tiana's smitten.
Talana said that he was very handsome, and then she paused and was like really handsome. Like, damn.
And then I found out later that she was actually married and that her husband was quite handsome. Quite.
Exactly. So naturally I said, tell me more.
Mm-hmm.
I need to know what this guy looks like so that I can see if it's correct. Off to the Goog I went. Here is, and I found some court TV show that covered this. This was also a Snapped back in the day. I'm not sure why, like, this is one where they were like, let's find an old one to do, because nothing in this happened recently. Well, anyway, I guess we'll get to that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Kate, I'm about to text you, and the whole heads will see it on video. Here is Sean Nelson testifying at the trial.
Ew.
It's a weird face, right?
He looks like, what's the guy the congressman who got forced out for lying?
Narrow it down a little bit.
Yeah, you're right. George Santos.
Yes.
He looks like George Santos.
Straight up, he does.
I don't know what she's talking about.
Well, in the picture, he's like pursing his lips, so maybe something's going on there. Now, I thought, well, this was 97 when this trial's going on. What's he look like in 2024? I couldn't find that, but I did find out what he looks like in 2020. Pick on the way. Here's a pic. He was a pilot as well, so Dion had a thing for pilots because Lance was also a pilot. Not like a professional one, but he, because he's rich and stuff.
Yeah, rich people.
So obviously, he owns a plane. Yeah. Okay, here we go, Kate. I believe Sean Nelson, okay? I think it's him. What do you think? Same guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the same guy. It's the ears.
The ears do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But weren't you dying for a pic? I mean, why would they
I was.
let her say that without a friggin' pic?
Whenever somebody says someone's handsome, I want to see.
Yeah, and she did it. She really thought he was good looking.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he testified at the trial, so I don't know why they didn't. But anyway, they did not. But now with this news, and now with her lying under oath, or telling the truth under oath, but lying in the interrogation, they press charges against Dion. And the trial starts. Tell us about this trial. Parentheses. Trials.
Oh, man. The first one, it was, the jury was deadlocked, right?
No. First one, she's found guilty of first-degree murder, hands down. She goes to jail for 2 years. So first trial is literally prayers answered, dream scenario, right?
The family is relieved.
They're stoked.
But then there's an appeal, and it's some of the evidence that was used in the trial is deemed to be...
It was the testimony of one of the detectives, which this sank a previous case of ours, which maybe Future Kurt will dig it up.
No.
But we've seen this before where it gets overturned because the detective on the stand is talking, assuming that person is guilty. It's like one of those word ones where it's like, oh, really? We got to do new trial for this reason?
That sucks.
Yeah, it sucks big time because so second trial gets fired up. And what happens with this one?
That's the one where they're deadlocked.
11-1.
Who is that one person who's like, no?
Yeah, I mean, you could tell the vibe of the judge that when he was like, I got a note from the jurors. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, motherfucker.
The jury is hopelessly deadlocked.
Whenever you get...
That's got to be the official word.
Whenever the judge says, I got a note from the jurors, it's like, oh, man, here we go.
Never good. Never good. So hopelessly deadlocked 11-1. And now... we're talking to the assistant DA at the time, who's now a DA. So basically what he does is he offers her a deal. Because at this point, like, the lead investigator had died.
Mm-hmm.
This was only a few years after the murder. But he had died, and they're worried about proving it again. And then also Lance's mom did not want to go through another trial. Now, I'm taking the DA's word at that, because that's the only reason why I'm not fuming right now, Kate. Because I thought that was a lazy move on the DA's part, but then I rewatched it. Indeed, they say that Lance's mom did not want another trial.
Mm-hmm. Lance's mother said she didn't want to go through another trial.
So they offer her a deal, 10 years for manslaughter. She did 7. She got out in 2011. She's been free for 12 years or 13 years.
Yeah. It's a bummer.
Isn't that a bummer?
Also scary because what's to say she won't do it again?
Yeah, and I thought for sure they'd hit us with a Dion Bao did not want to speak to us. Or like, she said no comment. Because she's still out there. Like, I wonder if she would have wanted to talk about it or no. She seems kind of like a person who would revel in it, maybe. What do you think?
She might.
Because she's out and free. She could say whatever she wants.
Remember that shot of her at the trial when she didn't like the way the prosecutor was characterizing her as a jealous woman?
Yeah.
And she rolls her eyes for everyone to see.
Rucker told jurors in his opening remarks that Dion was pure evil, a description that didn't sit well with her.
Yeah, it was great.
You're not supposed to do that.
You're not? I'm so glad she did, and this reminds me. Last week with Deadly Dance, the Black Swan murder, where we did not talk about Black Swan one bit.
Because it didn't matter. It had nothing to do with it.
Exactly. When people were testifying against her, she was busy writing stuff down. And this is where I say to you, Kate, I want a new law. Let's get it in. When people are testifying against someone, the person who is accused has got to be paying attention. Eyes up, eye contact. You're not allowed to sit there and take notes. I don't care.
What are you taking notes about?
Nothing, and it's just so she doesn't have to react to what's being said. It's clearly a ploy by the defense.
Yeah.
So when Dion got up there and rolled her eyes, I was like, yes! Yes! Ugh. There's just something about like when you don't have confirmation that they're even listening, I get heated. And yet again is why I'll never be called to the stand, because I would be yelling if the person was writing down. What do you think, Kate?
You would yell at them to pay attention?
I would say something. I feel like I'd either get in a fight with the person asking me the cues or be mad at the murderer over there.
And then the judge would have words with you.
Yeah. And I'd be held in contempt of court, and I'd be pulled out of there yelling, I'm Jose Canseco. I'm Jose Canseco! Are we at the end of this case?
We are.
And with that beautiful, beautiful reference to Liar Liar, let's go to those lists.
Kate's unnamed list. Well,
what you got?
I believe AC said something about a puzzle piece.
It's a huge puzzle. It's a 1,000-piece puzzle or more.
Right on. Puzzle was indeed talked about here. That's a definite.
And we had a Lotus and a Mercedes involved, but I don't think they had anything to do with the crime. But fun to have a car Kate mention anyway.
Yeah, it's good to have her weigh in on deets. But I think like if we don't even see a picture of the car, we can't add it to the list officially.
I agree.
Okay, cool. What else?
That's it for me.
Okay, on to Kurt's Kick-Ass List.
Kick-Ass List.
We got a good one. When we meet Harrison, dude starts popping off pop culture stuff, and I'm like loving it. He's talking about this Lotus.
He had a new Lotus Esprit at the time.
Oh, and he says he was a pilot too, and he would take me. I have memories of him letting me into his walk-in mainframe computer.
Being able to see his walk-in mainframe computer.
The f*** is that? A walk-in computer in '96? What's that mean, Kate? We had desktop by then. What is that?
He may have misunderstood what that was. I mean, I'm picturing it as being like a big server room.
Right, yeah. That's what I was thinking. A server room. Maybe that's what it is. Because I've been in those.
Yeah.
That feels kind of high-tech. Virtuosity-like and stuff.
I've been in those.
Yeah.
They're cold and loud.
Oh, they feel great. I do love that they be cold.
I do not.
And they are loud, too. That's true. Okay, and then he also said that his dad loved showing him Top Gun, his favorite show.
Favorite show?
I remember watching Top Gun. That was his favorite show to play for me.
Yeah. Now, that makes him Hollywood, because that's what people on cruise call him.
It is.
Right? So I got to give him some points there for calling Top Gun a show. That was pretty cool. Top Gun rules.
Let's go!
And, oh, this is the last thing I got. You got anything else? I got one more thing. Why is it that I feel like states in the South, a lot of them have their own version of the FBI, but state-wise. Like this was involving the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. So those aren't the cops. So are they an in-between to the FBI? Do all states have this? Because like South Carolina has SLED, whatever, like that, right? That's not the cops. That's like their version of their FBI, right?
I am not sure. I'm not sure. Because I do hear about the GBI a lot.
I wonder if it's like another term for state police or something. Like those are the cops that you would call if your county had a crooked cop in it.
The staties.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I encourage all the Holt heads to go to the YouTube at I'm Lester Holt and to look us up on Patreon for 2 new episodes a month about non-Dateline stuff. We got a friggin' banger about Sharon Kinney, which I'm surprised there has not been a Dateline about. Because she deserves one.
This was a tough one to swallow. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't love it. Now, I did like the subject matter. I liked this case, but Had
you heard of it before?
I had not heard of it before.
Sweet.
It's diabolical.
But hey, if you want to know our thoughts on that, pony up those $2 a month over on the Patreon. And on that note, I'm Kurt Money.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Lester Holt. For all of us, I'm Lester Holt. Good night.
When you see her coming, she's always trouble.